So a few weeks ago, there was an ATM which was attacked in Germany. And these attacks normally happen on border cities, on border towns, so that they can get into either Netherlands or Belgium. And there are different polices, therefore, by the time the information flows, it's already too late. But what was unique about this attack was that the thieves were identified, arrested in the Netherlands based on information sharing by the German police, by the CCTV cameras, and it was all done within less than 75 minutes of the attack itself. And how they did it was, and I'm speculating, but it was based on the fact that which cell phones were active in that particular area, what were the cameras doing over there, what they could capture in terms of the getaway car, and so on and so forth, so that when they were being intercepted, and most of these people, they drive cars which can do 250 kilometers an hour, when they were arrested, they knew exactly what route they were taking. They knew which cell phone numbers will be there on that car. The RFID of that car plate was known, and they could manage to solve. They were able to solve this particular issue, which would have been extremely difficult in other moments of time. Now, the question is, can you replicate this and try to understand security in 1.4 billion people and the interstate issues between polices, businesses, law enforcement agencies, and so on? Where can we get to? Where are we, and where can we get to? So I have a lot of very knowledgeable people over here, and I would like to request them for their opening remarks on the subject, and then we will take on a few questions.
Good afternoon, everyone. With regards to this kind of an action, as we're sitting here and discussing the homeland security, goes without saying that unless and until there's an absolute coordination between the states, as we have in India, the law and order is a state subject, and police of one state thinks twice before helping out the other one, unless and until there is a central umbrella organization which moves at a faster pace, and probably the detection and response is done. Having said that, there are organizations, though maybe at some kind of a nascent stage as on today, but yes, these can be handled. And number of times we see not an ATM theft as such, but certain criminals who've committed a crime in A state have moved on to B state, and they were brought back in whichever form, but the action was taken. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I must thank the organizers for bringing us all together. I mean, definitely it was really interesting to hear all the sessions, and and to cut it, slightly short also this discussion, because we are in way of your lunch. So I would also like to keep it precise and quick. But let me just mention a few things, like the homeland security we talk about. Now the challenges are different. What it used to be 10 to 15 years back. Now the things like what Mr. Jasprit Singh just mentioned about the cyber attacks and all that. So the thought process altogether has changed, considerably. We had some interesting, talks which were there in the initial discussions. First was for the crowd management. You know, the thing about the technology, I'll just commit back onto the crowd management thing also. But let me just re-emphasize onto that when we talk about the homeland security, the challenges which are different, and we're talking about technology, which is rapidly changing, the rate of obsolescence and the advancement, it's an oxymoron kind of a, wordings that I should say. But the way they are moving the technology is itself is creating challenges and definitely the solutions altogether. So how we see that and what are all the things that we must be looking into, that is what I would try to cover up in my speech over here. You see, for the crowd management and all, one thing that is rapidly changing in the homeland security also is that we no longer talk about motivational attacks, etc. There are more social economics or some other kind of actions that are being done, which calls for another aspect, is that how much percentage of these things are still disturbing us and how much is the percentage of the rest of the people that we bring on to a security cover, etc. So the user interface, that is what I'm just, user experience that I am talking about is an important role over here. And that is the, what I feel about the new challenges for Homeland and the technology. Now the user has to, feel good. I mean, Mr. Harshvardhan very correctly mentioned about, you go to any event, you go to anywhere, you spend cost for tickets and all that, and then you have to wait for the security clearance or so lot of things and all that. The things are changing now. I would like to mention you about the mass screening solution which are being used nowadays for stadiums, for passenger screening, etc., all across the world, especially in America and Europe. Now, these are the things which we are moving from the DFMDs and XBIS for, which requires for a lot of, human interaction also. Now, we have to look on for the exceptions, which is a very slightly percentage. How much is the, we are talking about not such a challenging role right now from the, illegal activity, but the people who are coming as a whole, they require to have a better user experience and all that. Now, this is one part to it. And secondly, for the cyber attack, which was definitely, which is again another challenge that is coming up in terms of homeland security. And I really feel that should be the part of a business continuity for every organization. And, when we are talking about, agencies which are preventive role, there are agencies which have reactive roles. In between the people who are engaged, the stakeholders, and most importantly, the business itself, the business continuity for all these kind of things has to be very well thought of and to be placed in between. Now, another challenge, with a rapid change in technology I would like to bring, and that's a thought process, is the cost involved with it. Everyone would like to reduce the cost, every client. I mean, definitely there cannot be an end to that. We just go infinite onto, the cost for the technology, wherein we know that the rate of obsolescence is also very high. Is the cost of ownership. That is where, the maintenance costs, etc., and all that. So we need to see that what are the kind of things that are reactive and which are the kind of things which are proactive. And we deploy all the technology in such an aspect wherein we see that there has to be an approach for the proactive thing, but please safeguard your investments with a better planning so that, the cost of ownership is always reduced. So these are few of the thoughts that, in terms of the technology challenges and for the homeland security, I just wanted to bring on. Thanks a lot.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Initially, I was thinking that the medium of delivery should be Hindi, but somehow I see, a couple of our overseas friend, Dr. Martin is also here. So I would deliver my talk in Hindustani and English, which I usually do, but this time I'm actually going to initiate and begin in English. All right. So Homeland security is a vast subject, And when you call a person like me to deliver his thoughts, I thought it is pertinent that I jot it down, because obviously we would not want to be between you and your lunch. So uh, here it comes. My input would be limited to healthcare sector in general and healthcare sector security in particular. This sector plays a very important role when we speak of homeland security. To know about the future of healthcare sector, it is essential that we know about the past and present of this sector in this country. The healthcare sector in this country has evolved immensely during the last 3 decades or so. Past 2 decades have seen many private players coming into this field and shaping the industry into what it looks like today. Naturally, healthcare sector security has also evolved as a strong function in this industry. Now, coming to the present, past 2 years were very challenging for this sector, and we learned our weaknesses and strength during the COVID. Since beginning, healthcare industry is largely dependent on the use of cutting-edge technologies for diagnostics and treatment of various diseases. Cost of the technology has always been a driving factor which shaped this industry. This industry, now if we talk about the future, this industry is going to reach 50 billion US dollar mark by 2025 in next 2 years or so. It is predicted that in next decade it will grow 3 times and generate 2 million additional jobs. This industry faces high level of various threats, and it is pertinent to remind this forum that Kama Hospital was hit during 26/11 terror attack. So we are not immune to terror attack. Our industry is not immune to terror attack. Okay, so healthcare installation regularly face various security incidents, which largely include violence against hospital staff, doctor, and theft, a risk of internal disaster like fire and flooding, etc. And external disaster situations are significantly prevalent in this sector. So this event of past gave shape to what healthcare sector security looks like today. From full contact to contactless delivery of healthcare sector security was possible because of usage of different technologies. Right from metal detectors, baggage scanner, to normal analog camera, to analytics and AI-based surveillance system, almost all sort of security equipments are used in our industry. In future, we see healthcare organization using all the available technology-based security equipments to mitigate the risk I spoke about. However, it is pertinent to mention that there is a reluctance when it comes to deploying very costly, cutting-edge security equipment based on new technologies. This industry is a manpower-intensive industry, and it will largely remain so in coming 5 years if basic metrics remain the same. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for your very nice comments. Now, what is the common line which is underlying all this is that there is a need for a lot of management. Security is pervasive. It's found everywhere. You need security in all forms and manners. And congratulations, there might be a recession in Europe and America, but there's no recession in the security industry, at least in India. And by its extension, also in South Asia and probably Africa also. So the important part is understanding that this technology is the basis for all the improvements that are happening. WhatsApp, we are all using it. I don't know how many people know the dangers of WhatsApp, but as security professionals, once you understand, then you will be a little wiser. The last chat about ransomware was very, very interesting. It made you think a lot of questions as to how do you do that. And these are real and present dangers that we have seen or are happening right now. We are all aware about what's happening with the Aadhaar card, the UIDAI lacunas. And if those things are not thought through, if they're not allowed to be foolproof, all the associated aspects around it will come to grief, really speaking. Because if you use technology, then you have to also safeguard it correctly. So what do you think is, besides the crowd control and the physical security aspects and the technology that is being used, what do you think should be foremost on people's mind when they're investing in technology for security?
Mr. Mayank, it's a very interesting thing, actually, what you have just asked. I'll just take a moment. Again, I will say that when we are spending in technology for security, please make sure that there is, what you actually want to achieve out of it. I mean, definitely, the majority of the thing is the facilitation of the people or the stakeholders that you are addressing to. Like if I talk about any industry, the major stakeholders, the employees, the people who are actually going to use and experience that technology every now and then. And the exception is very, very minimal, wherein you have to stop the infiltrator or anybody who wants to do some damage and all that. But it has to be in such a manner that it is much easier for use and very, I should say, very friendly for the people or the major stakeholders who are going to use it. And, when we talk about some of the things about cyber things and all that, we must always, we know that now the mobile, the smartphone are the major, kind of a super tool, actually. Most of our technology-driven things are moving on to this, hand phone. And so is the technology. What I also feel is that while going forward, instead of access cards and all that, we probably would be using our mobiles, and some of the places it is still being used, like RFID thing. But it may act as one kind of a sort of tool, going forward for technology. So, which will be much easier for everyone and to handle it, and it could be personalized. We are securing our, we have secured accounts over there. We are doing a lot of transactions and all that. So if we are going to use it in, I'll say the commas of secured environment, definitely it acts as a very good tool, and a lot of things can come up. So keep an eye onto that, and when you are talking about the technology, please use it more for the people who are going to do it every day. That's what I would like to mention.
Having heard this, if I have to use technology to my advantage in a security company, I have to see what is the return on an investment. Are my clients willing to accept? Today, when I use technology, I see what is a benefit for the employers and for the employees. My employees, I can make one application and that's it. It's all absolute transparent. Whether it is their schedule, attendance, salary, leave, resignation, final statement, what have you. And if I do that, I automate my entire financial process and the invoices are generated, the money received is faster, and I have a lot of operating cash to play with. But having said that, the minimum wages which are defined do not help me in picking up the best of the talents. Technology is an enabler by all means, and it must be inculcated in our day-to-day life. But do I get something back as an organization? Well, that is a question. Sometimes back, there was a discussion that we're going to have some amendments in Private Security Agency Regulation Act. That was also to enable the security companies to have a little more say in day-to-day policing as an extension of law and order. Well, all this works fine. Technology, yes. I can use drones, I can use artificial intelligence, I can use machine language, and what have you. There's no dearth. But I also have to see, does it strike a balance? One natural calamity internet services shut down, data services stopped, entire thing comes to a standstill. Or if I'm using some kind of sensors, there could be some false alarms, whether it is acoustic or motion or infrared. And is this facility available in every nook and corner of the country? Is it possible to get that signal, to use it? That is still a question mark. Going on to 6G, what you're thinking of, well, that's a stride forward, will help us to gain a lot, but one has to move in a very balanced approach so that we stand to gain a lot.
Okay, just to add to what Colonel Sahib has said, ROI is indeed essential. None of the organization work for no profit. Okay, there are a couple of, but most of the healthcare delivery organization in this country are operated by private funds or the individual investor. And investor would definitely want some ROIs. Now, when you use a cutting edge technology like your diagnostic tools, your CT machines, MRI machines and all that, you expect at least 20 to 25% of ROI. Similar thing happens when you use some kind of scanner or some kind of detector in your regular security operations. ROI is definitely essential, but the technology cannot remove the human aspect. I initially mentioned that this country is, and especially this particular field or this sector is a manpower intensive sector. So you cannot remove or replace the manpower with the technology. Technology is there, your cutting edge machines, equipments are going to be there, but removing the manpower will be a problem. In this country, especially when we go to a hospital, we would like to see some human interface. We do not want machine to interact with us. We want technology to help us enable the efficient delivery of services. And at the same time, it has to be cheaper. Technology comes at a cost, people say that, but I would always say that it should be cost effective so that our delivery to you becomes cost effective.
Thank you, everybody. The aim of this was to make you understand that yes, technology can come in, and yes, it comes at a cost, and yes, it will create problems initially. But as security professionals, the idea is to trigger in your mind that when I use technologies, what are the pitfalls? And for every time you use technology, you have to safeguard where that data is going, how it is being handled, and who all can misuse it. You've seen the situation with AIMS recently, the ransomware. It's happening a lot more than you think, and it will happen a lot more than you think. It's a question of, as security professionals, have you thought things through? Because you are the people who are interested in keeping operations alive, even when things go wrong. And for that, it is your, whether you want to be the evangelists or you want to be the people who can propose to your organizations or clients that what we are offering you is going to put you a step ahead, because your security becomes then a competitive advantage. I live in Europe, and I see that over there, security is a seamless experience. It's totally transparent. And that is what you should aim for. But to achieve that and to get to that level, you will really have to think not only with your clients, but also be advisors to them. You have to tell them what else is possible rather than just firefighting. So I hope we've been able to bring some awareness to you. Thank you so much for the panelists. Thank you very much, sir. Have a nice day.